Greetings with the blessings of the Triple Gem. We are about to start our Abhidhamma class in English, the 6th session, in just a moment. If Reverend Sir, if you can hear me clearly, please let me know.
I can hear you.
All right, perfect. We are live streaming on YouTube today. So if anybody is listening to us on YouTube, we welcome you warmly. And we are ready to start our class now. So over to you, Most Venerable Bulwala Ratana Thero.
Good afternoon. Let's start our Abhidhamma lesson 6. Today, we are going to discuss about Catastrophe, the mental factors. That is the second ultimate phenomena of the 4 ultimate phenomena. Mental factors, Catastrophe, or concomitants. Catastrophe, how can we define Catastrophe? Catastrophe generates when the consciousness generates. When consciousness generates associating an object, at the same time, Catastrophe also generates. When the consciousness takes any object, then at the same time, the consciousness also takes that object. When consciousness passes away, at the same time, Catastrophe passes away. Catastrophe and consciousness are inseparable. They can't be separated. Suppose you make a broth by using spices, cardamom, mustard, chilies, and salt. You cook a broth using those spices. After making the broth, if you want to take spices, when you use a spoon, when you try to get a spoon full of spice, you can't get. You can get the broth only. Or if you want to take broth, you can't get it. Both you have to get. That is the functions of the Catastrophe. Catastrophe can be known as thoughts. Thoughts of the person. So there are 52 Cetasikas. First, we analyze these Cetasikas into 52. Then we synthesize these 52 mental factors into 3 groups. Anya Samana, variable mental factors, 13 in number. Unwholesome mental factors, akusala, 14 in number. Beautiful mental factors, sobhana, 25 in numbers. That's how first we synthesized these 52 Cetasika or mental factors into 3 groups. Now take variable mental factors, 13. We analyze first these 13 variable mental factors. Yes, 30, very many, all variable mental factors into 13 in number. First we analyze. There are 13 variable factors. Those 13 variable factors are synthesized in 2 groups. Universal, Sabbachitta Sadharana, universal, 7 in number. Occasional, Pakinnaka, 6 in number, altogether 13. Universal, Sabbachitta Sadharana. Sabbachitta Sadharana means common for every consciousnesses. You know, there are 89 consciousnesses or 121 consciousnesses. Sabbachitta Sadharana means these 7 mental factors engage in all consciousnesses, Sabbachitta Sadharana. Then occasional, Pakinnaka. Pakinnaka, they don't associate with all consciousnesses, but they engage in consciousnesses, certain consciousnesses, broadly, spreading widely. They engage in consciousnesses, but not all in consciousnesses. Now we'll take the universal Sabbachitta Sadharana mental factors. Universal. Now take Sabbachitta Sadharana universal factors. There are 7 in number. They engage in every consciousnesses. What are they? Contact. First one is contact. Phassa. contact, Passa engages in every consciousness. Now think of how does a consciousness originate? To originate a consciousness, there must be object outside in the environment. We know in the doctrine of karma, we have studied Ketanaham bhikkhave kammam vadami, ketayitva kammam karoti kayena vachaya manasa. Karma and vipaka depend on consciousness. To generate consciousness, there must be contact plus outside. It's like a stimuli to generate or the function the karma or vipaka. So this mental factor is very important. When we study the doctrine of karma, to get the result of the karma, there must be contact outside. There must be some motivation from outside to make result. So past contact is very important. Contact, past. When the contact occurs, then there arise the feelings, Vedana, the mental factor. So in every consciousness, feelings is also there. When contact happens, there arise a feeling. We feel sometimes happiness. We feel worry. We feel sad. In that way, different feelings are there. Now think of the wholesome consciousness and unwholesome consciousness that we studied. Now, sensuous sphere consciousness, 54, sensuous sphere consciousness. Can you remember them? 12 unwholesome consciousness, 12 unconscious, 12 unwholesome consciousness. They are categorized in 3, rooted in greed, 8, rooted in hatred, and rooted in delusion. Now take rooted in greed. The first one is somanassa sahagata, ditthigata sampayutta asankarika. Now somanassa. What is somanassa? Somanassa is a feeling. He engaged in unwholesome activity with joy or happiness. That is the feeling. So feeling, the mental factor that engaged in every consciousness. Domanassa, sahagata patiga sampayutta asankari. That is domanassa. That feeling, domanassa, sad, and upekka sahagata dittigata sampayutta, that feels neither sad or happiness, equanimity. That is also feeling. When we think of the wholesome activity, consciousness, somanassa sahagata jnana sampayutta asankarika. In wholesome consciousness also, there are feelings there. Somanassa sahagata and upekka sahagata. In that way, we can find these mental factor, feeling, Vedana is there in every consciousness. Then the perceptions, sanya. Perception is identifying the feelings, perceptions, identifying the feelings. So when the consciousness is arised, person can identify his feeling. What kind of feeling is it happiness, sad? In that way, we can understand the feelings. We can identify the feeling. We identify this feeling because of perception, because of the mental factor of the perception. So the task of this mental factor, perception, is to identify the feelings. Then volition, chetana. Volition, chetana. Chetana, that's especially this mental factor connect with kamma. Chetanaham bhikkhave kammang vadami. This mental factor, that is that mental factor that works in kamma. When the kamma result comes, this mental factor, chetana, is there, volition is there. That is volition, chetana. Then one-pointedness, ekaggata. Where can you find ekaggata, concentration? So the task of this mental factor, one-pointedness, is concentrate the mind. When the person wants to concentrate his mind, there are this mental factor, one-pointedness, mental factor, it works there and it concentrates its mind. This one-pointedness, ekaggata, need when the person engaged in unwholesome activities or in wholesome activity. Suppose the person is going to stealing good. to do that task, he wants to concentrate his mind. Without concentrating his mind, he can't do it. When a soldier, he is in war front, he is waiting for his enemies. To do that, he must have one-pointedness mind or ekagrata. So it is an unwholesome activity. So this one-pointedness mental factor does that concentrate mind to do that. So in unwholesome activities and in wholesome activities, or in unwholesome consciousnesses, or in wholesome consciousnesses, according to the task or work, according to the activity, there arises this one-pointedness. When the one-pointedness, this mental factor, works in an unwholesome consciousness, that is called mithya samadhi. Mithya samadhi. Now, when the person wants to kill an animal, so he make plans and strategies, and he, when he doing it, then he won't do one-pointedness ekagrata. But it is it is mithya samadhi. It is misconcentration. Mithya samadhi, it is called. When the person engaged in wholesome activity like meditation, now when he develop his jhanas like vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekagrata. One-pointedness is there. That is samma samadhi, concentration. So this, the task, the concentration, the tasks of the concentration does this one-pointedness, the mental factor. So in practicing meditation, on the other hand, we develop these mental factors, one-pointedness. Gradually, we develop this mental factor, one-pointedness, ekagrata. Then life faculty, jivita indriya, life faculty. This mental factor is everywhere in consciousnesses, life faculty. Life faculty, jivita indriya, means it gives the life of the consciousness. Consciousness wants to live for some time. You know, consciousness arises and takes objects, functions, and disappears. Think of the born of the person. The person is born with the consciousness, pratisandhi, mental factor. Pratisandhi chitta, it is a mental factor. They start their life, and this life faculty helps to live the consciousness. Consciousness start and it works like a stream of consciousness because of this life faculty. When the person dies, he does not have this life faculty, but his consciousness goes to other birth. It is called Patisandhi, and live as consciousness. So the to leaving this present life and having next life, the consciousness need this life faculty. Without life faculty, it can't do that. So until the cessation of the consciousness, until when he entered arahanships, when he entered arahanships, he continue his consciousness because of this life faculty. That is the task of the life faculty, the mental factor, Jivita Indriya. Then seventh one, attention, manasikara. Manasikara. Attention. You, when you want to keep your attention, you want this mental factor. Without this mental factor, you can't keep your attention. When you study in the class, you have to keep attention to your teacher or to the lesson. To do that, you need this mental factor. So we have to develop this mental factor by training your mind. We have to develop this mental factor, attention, manasikara. Without manasikara, anyone can study. Anyone can study well, or no one can do his task well without attention. Some people, they can't do their tasks properly because they have less attention. Their mental factor, attention, is very weak. What we have to do, we have to develop our that mental factor, manasikara, by doing various tasks. That is attention. Those are the universals, Sabbha Chitta, Sadhana. These seven engage in every consciousness, wholesome consciousnesses and unwholesome consciousness. Now we'll come to that another category, the occasional, variable mental factors. 6 occasional. Initial application, vitakka. Sustained application, vichara. Decision, adhimokka. Energy, virya. Set, piti. And desire to act, chanda. Vitakka, vichara, adhimokka, virya, piti, chanda. The English terms are initial application, sustained application, decision, energy, set, desire to act. Now take the first one. And these mental factors, they do not engage in every consciousness. They engage in certain consciousnesses. Vitakka, initial application. Can you remember where can we find this mental factor, vitakka? Can you remember the consciousnesses we did? We studied 15 fine material consciousness. Do you remember them? 15 fine material consciousness. They are in three categories: kusala, wholesome, vipaka, result, and kriya, functional. Take these 5 each. First one, what is the first one? Can you remember the first consciousness? Vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata. Vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata. Vitakka is there. What is vitakka? Vitakka, what is the task of vitakka, the mental factor? The task of accepting the object into the consciousness. When the person practices his meditation, he is going to practice the kasina meditation. After developing his mindfulness, after engaging several methods of meditation, after developing his mindfulness, he is going to practice kasina bhavana, kasina meditation. According to his character, his teacher recommend him certain kasina. When he start to practice this kasina bhavana, he has to avoid all other objects, outside or inside. He has to avoid all those objects, and only he has to aspect the kasina object. To do that, it's very difficult task. After training his mind so many years, after training, he come to that state. He accept only that kasina object, to do that, the mental factor is there to do it. Without that mental factor, vitakka, you can't do it. So vitakka, the mental factor, is what it accepts the object. That is the task of vitakka. Then we'll come to the second one. Sustained application. Vichara. Where can you find the vichara? Now again, shall we go to that fine sphere consciousness? The second one. Vichara, piti, sukha, ekagati. Now vichara is there. Vichara. Vichara means, what is the task of vichara? That is, to investigate. Investigating the object. Sustained application, vichara, that investigate. And it goes round and round within the object and investigate the object. That is the task of vichara. When the person developed it, kasina bhavana, he, after accepting his object, he investigate his object because of this sustained application, vichara. Without sustained application, he can't do it. At first, he can't do. So what he had to do, little by little, he has to develop his the mental factor, vichara. So in one sense, in one aspect, I can say meditation is developing mental factors, wholesome mental factors developing, vichara. Then adhimokha, decision, adhimokha. That is, if you want to take any decision about the object, we always want to do it, the decision, to take decision. When we live at home or when we work in our working place, in day-to-day life, we take so many objects. We take so many objects through our 6 faculties. We have to take decision about that objects, whether they are good or bad. If the object bad or good, we want to take decision to continue this process. Without taking decision, we can't go on associating the object. So, the adhimokha is a mental factor. Its task is to get decision. Without decision, we can't do any task, whether it is right or wrong. We can't do it without decision. So do some activity, there must be decision, this ability. that ability must be there, taking decision. Sometimes we wait without taking decision according to the situation. This decision, adhimokka, mental factor is there. That's how it works there. Such situations, decision. Sometimes we are unable to take decisions because of the situations or the circumstances arise. We can't get decision. But we want to get decision to continue our life, to continue our process. We must get decision, whether it is wrong or whether it is right decision, adhimokka. Then energy, virya, courage. So to do unwholesome activity or wholesome activity, we want energy, virya, courage. Mental factor, energy gives that position, energy to do the tasks, virya. So in consciousness, virya is there to continue their tasks, virya. Without virya, we can't do it properly, or we can't continue any work, energy. Then set, piti, is a mental factor. Where can you find piti? Again, we can find this mental factor, piti, in fine material consciousness. Vitakka vichara piti sukhe ekaggata, the first jhana. Then when we come to the third one, piti sukha ekaggata. Piti sukha ekaggata is the set. So after accepting the object and after investigating the object, because of that task, there arise piti, happiness, set. Piti is there, the mental factor. So the meditator is encouraged because of piti. He feels that he is success in his meditation because of piti, set. Then chanda, desire to act. Chanda. Chanda means if you want to do any activity, there must be desire. This mental factor provides that desire to continue that work. First you arise, you generate the necessary, relevant consciousness to do that work. Then desire, the mental factor, desire arises. If the mental factor desire does not arise in that consciousness, you do it for some time and you give up it. You don't have desire to do it. So desire to act is Chanda. Chanda must be there to do any activity, wholesome or unwholesome. When the person engages in unwholesome activity with this unwholesome consciousness, there must be mental factor, desire to continue it. If there is no desire, he stop it, desire. So those are the pakinnaka, Chetasika, 6. So altogether, 7 universals and 6 occasionals, they are called variable mental factors, the 13 variable mental factors, because these universal mental factors and occasional mental factors engage in everywhere widely, separately, in all consciousness. That's why they are called variable mental factors. Universal factors engage in every consciousnesses, and these Pakinnaka occasionals, they engage widely in consciousnesses. So altogether, they widely engage in all consciousnesses. So they are called variable mental factors. Then we'll come to the next category, the 14 unwholesome mental factors. Unwholesome mental factors. These unwholesome mental factors engage in unwholesome consciousnesses. Delusion, moha, shamelessness, ahirika, fearless, anuttappa, conceit, uddhacca, greed, lobha, wrong views, ditti, conceit, mana, hatred, dosa, envy, issa, avarice, maccharya, worry, kukkucca, sloth, tina, torpor, midda, doubt, vicikicca. Those are the 14 unwholesome mental factors. Now we'll try to find out how these mental factors engage in unwholesome consciousness. Moha, delusion. Moha is the root of unwholesome. You know the three roots for unwholesome consciousnesses to generate unwholesome consciousnesses. Lobha, dosa, moha. Greed, hatred, and delusion. So delusion is one of them. Now take the 12 unwholesome consciousness again. Moha, rooted in delusion. There are two consciousness rooted in delusion. Can you find out, can you think of these two consciousnesses? They are generated because of that mental factor, delusion, moha. Uddatta sampayutta. When we delusion is the root, and there are two unwholesome consciousness rooted in delusion. So moha. Then shamelessness, ahirika. Ahirika means to do unwholesome activities if the person does not feel any shy to do wrong things or unwholesome activities. That is shamelessness. Now think of the person when he wants to do any wrong, bad things, or when he wants to behave badly, bad behavior. The person with bad behavior, he behaved badly because of ahirika. Ahirika means he has no shame, shamelessness. Now suppose about the intoxicated person, how does he behave in the presence of his children, in the presence of his friends? Bad behavior is there because of shamelessness, ahirika, mental factor. So in doing unwholesome activities, there arise in the consciousness, in unwholesome consciousness, there arise shamelessness, the mental factor. If the shameless mental factor is not there, he won't do that. So shameless mental factor is there, ahirika, he can do it. Now think of the creatures, animals, how they behave in the society, in open space, because of shamelessness, ahirika. Then fearless, anuttappa. That is without fear to do unwholesome activities. Person feels killing animal is not an unwholesome thing. He has misunderstood. He thinks it's no harm to kill animals or to steal or sexual misconduct and so on. He thinks it's no harm. He do not believe in karma. He does not believe in karma. He does not believe in karma and vipaka. In Buddhism, Buddha says, if person perform unwholesome activities after his death, he will be born in hell. But misunderstanding person does not fear of, he does not take that fear there. We don't know. We don't know about hell or karma result. He does not have fear to kill animals or engage in unwholesome activities. Fearless. The mental factor is there. The mental factor has developed in his consciousness because of his misunderstanding, misconceptions. Due to the misconceptions, he has developed it fearless, anuttappa, in engaging unwholesome activities. So without any fear, he does those unwholesome activities. And but one day he has to face that result, vipaka, karma vipaka, he has to face. Fearless, anuttappa. The next one, conceit, uddhata. Conceit, the mental factor, uddhata. Uddhata means you can't keep your attention because of this mental factor, uddhata. You can't concentrate your mind because of that uddhata. In 5 hindrance, we find this uddhata, mental factor, conceit. We find this mental factor, uddhata. And the true unwholesome consciousness rooted in delusion also, we find this matter uddhata, conceit. That is, you can't concentrate your mind because the mental factor is there. It destroys your attention, conceit, uddhata. Uddhata is against concentration. So in meditation, we have to abolish this uddhata in 5 hindrance. And then greed, lobha. Greed, lobha. Lobha means desire. It's also one root of unwholesome consciousness, rooted in greed, you know, rooted in greed. There are 8 unwholesome consciousnesses rooted in greed. Somanassa Sahagata Ditthigata Sampayutta Asankarika. In English term, you know that it greed, loba. In that way, mental factor is there, loba, did there arise that consciousness and do the task. According to the task, the consciousness is, according to the task, the consciousness along with the greed arises. When person kill animal and desire to have his meat, he has desire to eat meat, desire. So the consciousness and the mental factor at the same time arise, and he does that unwholesome activity. So the mental factors help the consciousness to do its task. Greed. Sixth one, wrong use. Ditti. Wrong use. Again, we can find ditti where in unwholesome activities rooted in greed. 8. Somanassa Sahagata Ditthigata Sampayutta Asankarika. Somanassa Sahagata Ditthigata Sampayutta Asankarika. Ditti there is misunderstanding. Ditti. Due to these misconceptions, people engage in unwholesome activities. The mental factor helps it. Mental factor helps him. Wrong views. Then 7.1. Conceit. Mana, conceit. That is, now you feel you are higher than other persons. Sometimes you feel you are equal to other persons. Sometimes you feel you are less superior than to other persons. That mental factor is there. Seyamana, Sadisamana, like that in Pali we find conceit, mental factor, that is unwholesome mental factor. It's not good for the character. Then hatred, dosa. Dosa, hatred. We can find domanassa sahagata ditthigata sampayutta sankarika. Rooted in hatred. Rooted in hatred, we find those mental factors. Hatred. Because of hatred, person do so many criminal works. Because of hatred, the mental factor is there. Without that mental factor, he won't do that. If he arise consciousness to do that, if there is no mental factor, hatred, he can't engage in that criminal work. Hatred, then envy, issa. Envy, issa means you don't like You don't like to see that other persons live in happiness. That is Issa. You don't like to see that other persons, they have a lot of properties and money, and they are living a luxurious life and so on. You don't like that. You feel worry about that. Yes, Issa, envy. There's avarice, Makkariya. Makkariya means you don't give anything to others that you have. Makkariya. You don't like to engage in meritorious deeds, donation, gift, material. If you have this, the mental factor avarice, you don't practice the tenfold of meritorious deeds. You can't gather meritorious deeds. Person who does not donate anything, he can't be born in heaven. Now, Anipidu, millionaire, he donated everything that he had. He spent his money to build up Jetavana Vihara, billions of money. Spent, he spent all his money, and he was born in heaven. Navi Kadariya Devalokam Bhajanti, Buddha says. The person with avarice, he won't be born in heaven because of avarice, material. When he want to give donation, gift, but the mental factor, avarice arises there, then he can't do it. In our Jataka stories, we find so many millionaires, Kosariya Makkariya, the millionaire, Kosariya Makkariya Situ. He does not like to spend his money on his food also. One day he wanted to eat oil cake, cow oil cake. So he asked his wife to cook oil cake in the secret place, because if other person look it, they have to give them also. Such misers we find in the society. That misery comes because of that mental factor. To avoid this mental factor, little by little, you have to practice donation. Practically, you can do it by engaging welfare societies. You can, if you are a very wealthy person, if you have so much of money, you can spend for the benefit of the society, the patients, and the noble arahant, and the noble persons who practice the religious ways, and all that. You can help them avoiding the mental factor arise, avarice. Without avoiding those mental factors, you can't be born in heaven or in a good place. You will be born in hell or somewhere. Then worry kukkucha. Kukkucha is like envy. Worry, you always worry about that. You have some problem in your mind always. You can't be happy. Always you worry about yourself and others. That is called worry kukkucha. It's a mental factor. Unwholesome mental factor. Uddatta kukkucha. It's coming 500s. Uddatta and kukkucha. That is hidden in our mind. Sometimes this mental factor remains in our mind for many years. Then it will develop into a sickness, mental sickness, worry, kukkucha. Then sloth, tina, and torpor midda. Tina midda comes in 500s. Tina and midda. You feel this. You are disgusted in doing meritorious deeds. When you go to start meditate, sometimes you feel laziness. That is tina and midda. Tina midda. Torpor, sloth and torpor, it goes together. Then last one, doubt, vicikicca. Vicikicca, again, you suspect the 8 places, starting from Buddha. You doubt about Buddha. You have doubt in Dhamma, Sangha, and your former birth, next birth, and the precepts that were recommended by Buddha to observe, precepts, and the dependent origination, the suspect, vicikicca. That is the mental factor. Because of that mental factor, we have those doubts. In meditation, what we do, we try to avoid these mental factors developing in the place of wholesome factors. We developed wholesome factors instead of these unwholesome factors when we practice meditation. When we practice meditation, what we do, we avoid those unwholesome mental factors. We try to avoid those unwholesome mental factors. There is a sutta called Vitakka Santana in Majjhima Nikaya. In Vitakka Santana Sutta explained, when person meditate, how he avoid those unwholesome mental factors by using wholesome mental factors. Use wholesome mental factor and he remove out the unwholesome mental factor from the consciousness. Now, if there is a nail in the plank, we take a small one and we, little by little, we try to remove that nail, big one, little by little. That way, the Vitanka Satthana Sutta explained that when the person meditate, he does it. So, those are the 14 unwholesome mental factors. I think this is enough for the day. Let me stop my Abhidhamma lesson with that. Blessing of the triple gems be showered upon you. I wish you all the best. Thank you for listening to me.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you and much merit to you, Most Reverend, Most Venerable Bulwala Ratana Siritero. And if we have any questions, it is time for you to ask your questions. There are two questions. Thank you so much for sending in your questions through the Google form. I'll read out those questions. There was one person who raised their hand earlier in the session, but they have left, so I'm not sure if... So just a quick response to Anand Sandan Singh. Thank you for your request. We will try to deliver as soon as we sort out the recordings. So if you were listening to today's lesson, probably you may have received an answer, a sort of answer through Reverend Bulwala Ratana Siritero's talk, but I'll ask this question on behalf of Deep, his name is Deep Rasina, but I'm not sure if they're in a session now, but they sent it a little while ago. So the question is, Reverend Sir, is there heaven and hell? If yes, then can meditation help us to attain heaven, or it depends only on our karma? So I decided to ask this question because it links heaven, hell, meditation, and karma. But from what we learned in our Abhidhamma lesson today, we could make our own judgment. But over to you, Reverend Sir, for a clarification.
Yes, when we study fine material consciousnesses, we studied there are 16 Brahmaloka. So those to be born in those Brahmaloka, you can practice meditation. You can practice then your kasina meditation, and you can develop jhanas, vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata, the first jhana. Then vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata, second jhana, absorption. Third one, piti, sukha, ekaggata. Fourth one, sukha, ekaggata. Fifth one, upekka, ekaggata. When the meditator, when he has developed those 5 absorptions, jhanas, when he dies with this jhanas, when he dies, after his death, he is born as the result of his jhanas. Now, there are 5 resultant consciousnesses. Again, vitakka, vichara, pita, sukha, ekagata, 5 resultant consciousnesses, vipaka. Because of that, he is born as a Brahma. Yes, we can be born in Brahma Loka after practicing those meditation.
Sadhu, 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 and thank you and much merit for the clarification, Reverend Sir. If there are any other questions, you may unmute your microphone and ask the question. You could use the QR code that is visible on the screen, or you could use the link that I sent through a Zoom chat to access the form where you can fill in your information and send us your question. So you can use this form to send us your question at any time, and we will address the questions or concerns in our consecutive classes in Abhidhamma. If the question is not related to Abhidhamma themes, we may contact you. So that is why a valid email address is important. Reverend Sir, we do not have any more questions.
Yes, that's enough for the day.
Yes. So we can wrap up our session. So once again, thank you and much merit to all our listeners, and much merit to you, Reverend Sir, for your valuable time and sharing your knowledge on Abhidhamma with us. Thank you very much and have a good evening. I will close the session now, Reverend.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, everyone, for your kind thoughts. See you next week, Saturday at 2 p.m. Sri Lankan and Indian